Hey guys, Matt here. It is June 6th and I am still here, still improving, still struggling. It's basically been a lot more of the same, except I'm generally in a bit better place than I was however many weeks ago. It still is mostly coming down to side effects from the medication they have me on. If you haven't seen the previous video, I basically had surgery for MALS. That was a major surgery, but a very minor recovery. If that was all that it was, I would actually be sitting out in Seattle about to drive up to the Yukon to do our big summer paddle trip after having thru hiked across, what was I gonna do, Mogollon Rim? But I developed adult HSP / IgA vasculitis, and I've been under treatment for that, and that has basically led to canceling all of the summer trips. Most of the struggles have been related to the medication. I'm still on prednisone and Cellcept. I did go down. I was originally on 60 to 80 milligrams of prednisone a day, and anybody who's been on anything near that knows how much fun that is. I'm currently down to 7.5 and dropping every week. They're hoping to get me off of it by the 26th, assuming no major outbreaks, backslides, etc., etc. I'm also on 3,000 milligrams of Cellcept every day. That is easier to manage. I am probably going to be on that until September. The idea is the prednisone was able to kick in quickly and control the symptoms of the IgA vasculitis, and that was basically stomach pain so bad I couldn't manage to be off of painkillers. I was on big doses of Dilaudid just to get through every couple hours. Prednisone fixed that, gave me a lot of unpleasant side effects, but them's the breaks. Cellcept takes a while to ramp up, so I've been on a big dose for a couple of weeks. I just had an update with the rheumatologist. He thinks that it's taking effect, but we're kind of feeling around in the dark with a lot of this. It's not common enough where there's really a playbook. There's some case studies where this has worked, and then there are fallbacks with some indication that maybe this drug will work, but it has more side effects, so is what it is. In general, the side effects have been getting easier to manage. I'm not sure if that's just I'm exhausted and, heads down getting through it, or if they're actually getting easier just due to the lower doses. I will say I expected things to get easier when I dropped from 20 down to 10, and they haven't. I'm still really struggling with buzzing feet, insomnia, jitters, emotional swings, just not being able to handle stuff, and just mild stomach aches sometimes. I can usually manage it, but I have had to go back on opioids off and on just to get through a bad bit. If it gets really bad, I can up my prednisone dose, but then you're trading off side effects. Good news is I have been out of the hospital for a month now. If you follow us on Instagram, you might have seen that we did end up going to the ER the other day. That was for something unrelated. I basically swallowed a quesadilla, and it didn't go down correctly, which is something I've been struggling with since the initial surgery. What was it, 65 days ago? And I choked it up, vomited, started vomiting up blood, did that about 10 times, started hitting Dr. Google and went, oh, okay, we need to go get medical attention. Ran all the way into Scripps because we thought that I might be, put back in the hospital because nothing heals on the Cellcept, so a lot of wounds and things are kind of harder to manage. Got in there, they did an x-ray, looked at it, put me on some Protonics medication to kind of let things heal, said watch what I was eating for a while, and sent us home a couple of hours later. Which was good, other than we drove the 3-hour round trip out to Scripps because we thought I was going to end up in the hospital and then didn't end up. For the record, I say that if Jen had just done what I asked and recorded some videos, I would have been too distracted to make myself a quesadilla, and I would not have ended up in the hospital. In general, the trend seems to be that it's getting easier to manage the whole condition side effect, either due to it running its course or the Cellcept kind of taking over for the prednisone, which is a lot harder to manage. It's hard to tell. This is so rare in adults. I've done a fair amount of research on it. And you can find somebody having it every couple of years, but it's rare in adults. It's mostly in little kids. Kind of like how with MALS, it's common in teenage girls, not 44-year-old males. But what can I say? I like to take things to the extreme, I guess. Part of that, though, is as I get more good days like this is the first day in a while where I can actually talk and I'm not sitting here just being super jittery and weak and having to be in bed. I feel like it gets harder to take the bad days, or I guess the average days, because I want to be up, I want to be productive, I want to be doing things, and I can't always. Jen was here last weekend, and Sunday, I mean, I was in bed basically all day. I was having, stomach aches and just feeling so tired I couldn't manage anything, and I've just had to kind of learn to be okay with that. So as you can see, we're still here in the Warner Springs Airbnb. We extended it through mid-August. It is absolutely beautiful and peaceful. I love it here, and it is also a big struggle being stuck inside. When I first got here, I was walking around a little more, especially in the evening. Honestly, the last couple of weeks, I've mostly been stuck inside just because the exercise intolerance was really bad. Doing any sort of exertion just set my heart rate up over 100, and I just felt awful. And if I really tried to do anything, it would get over 120 and I'd feel like I was dying. So I've kind of learned to take it easy. My doctor has also stressed that I need to not exercise or anything, at least until I'm down to 5 milligrams of prednisone every day, just because I'm at a high risk of injury while I'm like this. And the last thing I want is some sort of like ligament or tendon injury that's going to, extend this or give me long-term management issues. So yeah, I'm basically stuck inside with a really nice view. Unfortunately, I am unable to talk a lot of the time. Right now, my voice is a little raw, but I can manage. It gets a lot worse. Some days it's so quavery, or I basically am down to a croak. I've had some speech therapy treatments, at least until our insurance decided that our in-network speech therapist was out of network, and we're currently fighting them, so that all had to end. That hasn't really helped. It's frustrating because I want to be able to talk to Jen. I want to be able to make videos like this, and I've just had to come to the reality that I can't. And I also can't plan to go into town or do other things. We had a Sierra Club friend come out here and visit. It was really nice. First people I've seen in person other than nurses, basically, since all of this started in March. And it was a struggle to get through. I was feeling awful earlier that day, couldn't predict it the day before I was fine, and it took everything I had just to get through a low-key dinner with them. So we basically had to sequester me here. We're trying to have Jen do all the town runs. I was going in and doing some of them, but it seemed to trigger IgA vasculitis outbreaks. We're not sure why. If it's like the stress or if it's just in my mind, but we decided it was better to hold off from that rather than deal with me being on painkillers and such any longer. And Jen's a trooper as always, so she just stops and gets everything I need for the next week's house arrest on her way in on Friday. The good news is she is done with school as of today. She finishes in a couple of hours here, and then she has to do a couple of errands out there, and we'll be here by the end of the day. Really looking forward to not having to drive back and forth across SoCal. If you're not familiar with the traffic on SoCal, 30 miles can be over an hour because of traffic in a lot of these cases, and she's having to do a lot longer commutes. It's 2+ hours to get out here every weekend. Manageable. I've done that every day for a commute for a while, but it's been just driving her crazy. So she is looking forward to just getting to relax for a little while. She has some weekend stuff planned for throughout the summer, but mostly she's just looking forward to coming here. I was also finally able to get that MRI done, around the back pain I dealt with way back in February. I'd had an MRI that was requested by a doctor, and insurance gave us the runaround. And then once we finally got that approved, I was in the hospital, couldn't get it done there, couldn't get out to go get it done in a, normal doctor's office. So finally had that, finally got to see the back doctor. Mostly good news there. Basically, he said it was nothing too bad, just normal-ish wear and tear for a 44-year-old. Same thing with a lot of my knee issues. I had a back doctor once tell me knees are a great design for, people who are supposed to live until their 30s. The fact that we live a lot longer is why that doctor had a nice car and his kids were going to college. So he basically said the major acute pain issue was probably due to an issue with my L5-S1, and that it's likely to continue to degrade. Physical therapy, exercises, etc. might be able to slow that, but aging, there is an option to replace it with basically a synthetic L5-S1, one step closer to RoboCop/RoboHiker. I more wanted the knees replaced though than the spine. We are looking into that. I'm a little bit skeptical until we can do more of our own research, and I haven't been in the mindset for that. Surgeons like to do surgery, so they tend to be very pro whatever their procedure is. The surgeon's argument was that I can probably get by until having more incidents. However, they do see replacements for people who are in remote areas a lot, people whose jobs take them into that area, military, remote employees, yada, yada, working out in the bush. And I might fall into that category. And we do have a lot of plans where we want to be out in very remote areas. I just keep thinking what would have happened if that back incident had happened on a dive boat out in the middle of Indonesia. We actually did see that happen when we were in Socorro, and this guy was in this tiny tossing boat with nothing but a tiny room with 4 people in it, for 5 days, just in horrible pain anytime he moved. And that's both a bummer, and, those trips are kind of a big resource commitment and hard to get at. You can't do those very often. So between that and wanting to be out on trail, wanting to do more remote stuff where maybe medical care would be accessible, but it would be delayed longer, we are considering it, but not for now, at least for the moment. While part of me wants to just stack stuff and do all my recovery at once, the CellCept would keep me from healing, so there's no major surgeries while that's going on. So at least for the moment, the plan is recover once I'm able to kind of manage exercise, follow up with Blaze, see about getting some more exercises with the goal of getting me back to hiking, carrying a pack without coming down with a fresh case of plantar fasciitis or anything as I ramp up, see how I manage it. Meanwhile, I've been mostly keeping sane here, playing with toys. There's a lot of things I don't get to do when I'm out on trail. We bought a little Neo drone for the Yukon, thinking we could get like aerial shots of our campsite, maybe. And it's small, compact, so I thought I could fit it on the canoe. When I found out I was going to be under house arrest for months, I just happened to see a combo of the N3 first-person view goggles and the motion controller on sale, and I went, screw it, and bought those. And so I've had a lot of fun flying around the property here. Usually over coffee. I'll sit out here and I can cover the entire property, get all the way out to the road. That's been a lot of fun. I enjoy seeing the animals. I've gotten really close to a couple of hawks, been able to see the quail running around. It's been a little bit of a relief while I can't actually get out and be outside, which is what I do for mental health usually. It does have limitations. It can't fly in the wind, and it is often very windy here. I basically can only fly it first thing in the morning. Often in the evening, there were some coyotes last night that were really close, and I took the drone out to see if I could see them, and I was worried I wasn't going to be able to retrieve it because the little thing was like struggling to get back against the wind. I'm also kind of limited. Like I can do a lap around the property here a couple of times during its 12-minute fly time on a single battery. I really wish I could go forward, but there are houses on either side, and I don't want to, trigger the locals. Actually, on 3 sides there are houses, so I can go up to Cleveland National Forest behind me, but it's all just vegetation and there's not much to see. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to drive some places and find some more open areas where it's legal to fly and I'm not going to bother anybody, because it is fun to play with. I've even gotten Jen flying it, and she was having fun. And I was practicing the other day, having Jen do her jog around the property and actually like tailing her. Totally not harassing her, though I did offer to put a little pointed stick on it and kind of help motivate her, keep her, run pace up. The other thing that I've really been getting a lot out of while I've been stuck inside is I picked up a Quest 3 VR headset. I am a computer geek through and through, you know, as a software engineer for 20 years. I see new tech toys, I want to play with them. Often I can't because we don't have a big footprint these days. I'm just on a laptop. I'd looked at VR headsets before, back when they required a computer to hook up to. This is completely standalone. And I've actually been kind of amazed just how effective it is at making me feel like I'm not trapped inside for lengths of time. I wish I had it in the hospital, and if I go back to the hospital, I'm bringing it. Yes, you look weird as you're like flailing around, but you can't see people looking at you like, what's going on here? It's just really been a huge psychological boost. I may do something on it. I partially got it because I was excited at the idea of being able to have virtual monitors to work off from my laptop. It does work for that with some drawbacks. There's also a bunch of games for it. They did like a full VR conversion of Resident Evil 4, which is kind of awesome. Jen was playing Beat Saber. She used to love playing DDR back in the day, so she's really liking some of the rhythm games. And it's awesome for kind of those like old school arcade shooters, like, you know, Time Crisis and whatnot, because it looks like you have a pistol and you're actually moving around in an environment. Ironically, the hard thing has been, as I wasn't able to tolerate any sort of movement or even be up, a lot of the games actually have you physically moving. Like one of the shooter games, you actually have to duck out of cover and shoot. There's no button for that. You actually get up. And I haven't always been able to manage that. But some games will work while you're sitting or lying, so I've been doing what I could. There's also kind of an interesting number of fitness type applications with it. I've only tried those a couple of times because I'm still mostly on restriction, but that looks kind of promising as far as more lightweight exercises while I'm stuck inside. So highly recommended. They actually have an entry model, the Quest 3S for $300. That's the one we initially got. And then once I realized that, hey, this was a thing I'm probably going to use a lot, we returned it and got the Quest 3, which is the one you should get if you're interested at all. Better lenses, higher resolution, yada, yada. Hey, but that's enough for Matt going on about tech toys. I've also been doing write-ups. I really wanted to do videos. Honestly, making videos is a lot more satisfying just because more people see them, we get more comments. The social aspect has been one of the really rewarding things these last couple of years as we've been making these. However, I'm not always in the shape like this where I can talk on video. So sometimes I've been doing what I can, and that has been just doing old write-ups, trying to capture stuff, mostly from the American Discovery Trail and the Mississippi River paddle. I do get people reaching out through like email or Instagram Messenger asking questions. So I've kind of been trying to capture all that with the hope that people will find this stuff and it will be of some benefit. And then I keep telling myself, okay, well, when I have good days and I can talk and everything works, I can do videos. Because again, I've had to learn the hard way that I can't plan. I can't say, okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to go out, drink my coffee and record, because I might wake up feeling just awful and might not be able to get out of bed, and that could last for days, or I might be feeling better. So it's been a lot of just taking it, you know, one day at a time. In general, though, I'm just really grateful. This still has every sign of just being temporary issues that are going to clear. In another 6 months or so, I should be back to normal, back to my activity. We don't think there's going to be long-term consequences to this stuff. Back in 2019, when we first started this kind of outdoor-focused lifestyle, got rid of our apartment, got rid of most of our stuff, I mentioned how part of the reason why I was willing to take the big risk, make the big leap, was I had so many friends that just seemed to be getting sick and having either like life-altering consequences or passing away. And some of them had plans like wanting to do the PCT, and they were never able to do them. So I just started looking at it and going, why am I wasting time working for people that are treating me like crap? You know, not really benefiting anybody other than rich a-holes who are screwing us over, stealing our Social Security, etc. And yeah, unfortunately, the Friends Having Medical Developments has continued to a distressing degree, and it just reinforces that we're doing the right thing for us, just as far as making the most use of whatever time we have, since you don't know how much time you have. And we intend to keep doing that just as long as we possibly can once this clears and we're able to get back out to it. Every plan right now is to get back out, if not in September, October timeframe. I may try and do some sort of an easier through hike then, just get back out on trail, palate cleanser, etc. Then, next March, after the wilderness class is over, basically jump into the same plan we had this year, do the Yukon, redo all of our plans that we had set up and had to cancel this year, and then finish the ADT. Because I really don't like having stuff like that hanging over me. I'd rather have things finished behind me on to the next adventure. You really just never know how long you get. It's not just, how long you get till you pass away. It's just how long you get where your health allows you to go out and be largely unrestricted. I have friends that have chronic conditions, and I am just in awe of how they manage them. And I dread the day something comes up and takes a lot of this away from me. I've had a couple of scares over the years. When I hurt my knee in a mountaineering fall back in 2012, 2013, I thought that might be it for me. And I managed to claw back from that with surgery and a lot of, personal training and things like that. But you just don't know. We didn't know when I was in the hospital in so much pain, like, was this it? I've had so many friends with basically life-ending cancers coming out of nowhere. We weren't actively talking about it, but I think both of us were thinking about it. And the fact it was something like MALS, the fact that we at least know my torso area doesn't seem to have any weird growths because I've had so many scans and eyes on it, I seem to be good for now. That's something at least. So our intent is to get back to life as normal these past 5-6 years, and we intend to just stick to it as much and do as much as we can for as long as we can. Because again, you just don't know how long we have. We both really miss being out on trail, miss all the social interactions, both from like meeting people out there and just the videos, and just the feeling of kind of experiencing day by day and not having any of those days that just kind of slip away unremarked. As far as Jen and her summer, she will be here with me through, I think, early August. She goes back to work every year pretty much right after her birthday. Mostly she intends to hang around here because she is tired of driving around Southern California. She does have some weekend Sierra trips with the wilderness class planned. I have been encouraging her to do as much as possible because it's driving me nuts being restricted here, and I don't want her to go through that. She is excited about, she signed up for a class to be a yoga instructor through Core Power. She does yoga every morning before school. And there is a particular class that she really likes, which isn't always offered. So she's going to go do the class, become an instructor, and at least to get to do that for free with some nominal sort of paycheck. So that'll take like 3 weekends. She's really excited. When she mentioned it, I encouraged her to just, screw it, sign up, do it now. Do whatever you can. Make this summer mean, something. Have it add up to something for somebody at least. So she's really excited for that, and just like I said, getting to sleep in and kind of recover. And while it might seem from the outside that if you don't know any teachers well, that like, oh, they get so much time off. I have had jerky comments from family members to that extent. Jen puts a ton into this. I mean, the amount of time she spends on weekends, on evenings during the summer, prepping, changing things for her classes. She is also the chair of the science department there, co-chair, I think. She puts a lot of work in outside of work. Me as a software engineer, I did that, but I also put boundaries up because I saw too many employers who would just take advantage of that. She doesn't. She just puts everything into it. So she also has a lot of planning prep stuff to do during the summer. But, big thing is, she'll be here. She'll just get to enjoy all the birds and everything else and get to kind of recharge ahead of going back in August for a whole new set of students. She's both been really excited that she's going to get a break, get to recover, get not to drive for a while. and also really sad to say goodbye to her students. I mean, that is the cool part of her job that I'm envious of. Well, there's the fact she has a passion for it. She's working in her passion, something that she loves, and it's work, but doesn't feel like work. It feels motivating to her, and just she gets to teach every single day. She gets to interact. Do I want to teach teenagers? Hell no. I am more than happy dealing with adults who are there voluntarily with the wilderness class and other things I've done. At one point, I was looking at being an IT trainer so I could at least teach, but it was people who were a little more motivated. I couldn't do teenagers, but she loves it, and she is exactly the sort of person that should be, working as a high school teacher. We also have Steam Decks. I bought one for Jen so she could have it with her to play after school when she's in the campgrounds. It basically lets you play computer screens on a little handheld. That has been getting the most usage out of anything, just because when I'm in pain, quite frankly, video games are more distracting than reading or any of the other things that I can do. Jen has been playing Hogwarts Legacy. She grew up with Harry Potter, so she has just been having kittens playing that game. She absolutely loves it, and I love seeing her happy. So those have been the best money we spent. I originally got one so she could just play Mass Effect, because I'd played it years ago on my computer, and she's never going to sit around in front of a computer that long. But they have proven their worth multiple times over.